And now our next speaker who will be coming up is from SumoLogic, and it's Simon Campbell. Please make him welcome.
Okay, thank you everyone. So tonight there's myself, Simon Campbell, also Mark Chiasi, both from SumoLogic. So I'd like to definitely thank Offis for hosting this event on such a nice evening. I'd much rather be inside than outside. So look, tonight what I'd like to talk about at a high level, I'm just going to start talking about, number one, what is SumoLogic and where do we come from? SumoLogic is a company that was started in 2010 over in Silicon Valley. Our founders, they basically developed one of the heavyweight seams of the industry, ArcSight, for over a decade. They decided that, granted, we need to move away from a solution that's heavy, it's on-premise, needs huge infrastructure, and what to do? It crunches data. So what is a logical conclusion going forwards in the future for a big data crunching engine? Let's move to the cloud. So they went forth in 2010, they started developing SumoLogic. SumoLogic is the first true multi-tenant SaaS service hosted in AWS in varying sites, 3 sites in the US, 1 here in Sydney, and also 1 in Dublin. So what this also means is data sovereignty is covered, right? Any data you send to SumoLogic stays here in the AWS Sydney data center. Now what we do with the data is actually very different. So at a high level, we collect all of your machine and log data. Now, collecting data, there's no big trick to that, right? There's so many companies out there that are doing this today. They have their various specific use cases, whether it's looking at your network traffic or your system traffic or your application traffic. SumoLogic, we're data agnostic. We don't care where the data comes from, your operating system, your application, your network layers, and then also anything outside of that. Now, where we differ in what we do with the data makes us truly unique. SumoLogic, we've hired over 50 data scientists from MIT. 20 of these guys have doctorates. So we're a software company that actually has 20 guys who are doctors on our list. So, it's a good place to get sick, right? So the good part of this is what these guys do day in, day out, they crunch away. They build our machine learning capabilities and our anomaly detection engine. So we're not like any other company in the industry who buys another company to need to bolt things together. We all build things natively. Now, the big thing about big data, and what's interesting about that is really what you do with it and how you derive value from this. So, I've watched a couple of sessions like TED Talks and all these things. They talk about you have a user who's sitting in the car of the future, he's going along, and the car will adapt and will learn your posture, the way you sit in the chair. And then going forwards, if you start to slump and you give that motion that maybe you're going to sleep at the wheel, because of big data, because you can set baselines, you can learn of people's habits. It might determine that as an anomalous event, and then beeps the horn on the car to wake him up before he crashes the car. So doing all these types of machine learning capabilities is what we do and what we truly thrive at. Next slide. Perfect. So down to the data and down to the data centric of how we apply to your CI/CD pipeline. Now, as I said, we take data from anywhere, right? And as you can see on the board's representation here, we cover off all the core focuses, the core industry focuses that everyone has today on premise or in the cloud. When I look at your on-premise, everything from your operating systems to your VMware to even your Palo Alto, your Cisco type traffic, sure, we have that covered off. Where SumoLogic is focusing a lot of our future is in cloud-to-cloud integrations. Things like Office 365, Google Drive, our Akamai cloud-to-cloud integration. And on top of that, you're going to notice that when you look at containers there, we have a lot of pre-built content and images. We're actually partnering with Docker around building quick deployment images. Because how's this working to your CI/CD, right? Docker is really part of that key messaging around continuous, fast deployment and development. And, we're on the brink of that with them. We're developing images so that our collectors, our agents, can basically be baked into every single deployment they do. What do? We're going to look at that log data, look at that machine data. We're going to give you insights to, hey, was this a successful deployment? What's the performance like of this new release or this update? And, how can I actually visualize this and be alerted on this proactively so I know going forwards, I'm not going to make the same mistakes. Now, some core features and functionality that I really like about SumoLogic, especially in the CI/CD context, is things where we can, as I said, we're going to do these baselines automatically. Now, look, a baseline's great. Everyone can do that. Now, what we can do with it, we can basically compare that against different time frames. So sure, you have a developer working away. You do a code release. SumoLogic, 1 command. Within 2 seconds, you're going to have a baseline. And then compare that after you've made the release. So code away, cool, set a baseline, do the release to production, put some load test on this system, and then say, hey, SumoLogic, compare what this application or this feature look like in the past 30 minutes and compare that to the next 30 minutes and give me a summarized delta. Show me the percentage delta of logging. So really what this is going to do to the end user is say, hey, you've done a successful change. I can see the successful transactions going through. Or on the flip side, it's going to give you a very quick, a very fast way to remediate if you've broken something. So you can go back, repair it, re-release, check the delta, happy to go, proceed on. Part of that continuous delivery. Now, on top of your CI/CD, SumoLogic, we really appeal to 3 core use cases, and obviously the focus of tonight is really around the DevOps space. This also comes under the IT operations space, which is definitely one of our core value propositions. Many companies around Asia Pacific, and as I mentioned, SumoLogic we started in 2010. We started selling to the market in 2012. We actually came to Asia Pacific in June of last year. In that time, I was employee number 2, and from that time period, we've sold to 60, I think 70 plus companies now. Some of the big names might be News Corp, Car Sales, Webjet, and many other customers using us in the DevOps space, baking our agents and baking our collection methods into their system so they can understand what's happening in real time, getting proactive analysis around their releases. Now, I keep talking about we only sit on AWS, which is true for today, but especially in the AWS world, we offer so much value through our fast integrations. All your common culprits, your ELBs, your CloudTrail, CloudFront, these are all out of the box. I love it when I'm doing a trial or a POC with a customer. I say, look, CloudTrail, ELB, CloudFront, I'll have those up and running in 15 minutes. That's no dramas. We have a setup wizard to do that. Instant reports, instant dashboards, instant queries, good to go. My new favorite is the one that was just released today, which is around the VPC logging. So those who understand the technical nature, VPC logging, it's really net flow inside AWS. So up until today, there was virtually no way to actually understand who's talking to who, how much data has been exchanged between each node or each customer. Whereas SumoLogic's integration and native partnership with AWS, pre-built content, pre-built integration, good to go and get visibility as you're doing your releases. Understand how not only it affects your on-premise applications, but also in the cloud today. And then hook that in with your Akamai integration, then you have the full cycle about, okay, if we're a large company today, we can understand our hybrid environment, but then also outside of that environment, if we need to offload our services. So at a high level and probably a deeper level, I feel I've covered off who SumoLogic is, where we play today, and some of the core use cases and how we align to CI/CD. So I look forward to the panel and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Simon Campbell, and also a really big thank you to the 2 main sponsors for the evening, Dynatrace and of course SumoLogic. Has everyone got food?